Hey there, Dingo Stu here. As those of you who follow me on Instagram will know, at the start of this year, Dad got quite ill and sadly passed away last month. Before he died, he said to me that he wanted to have his ashes scattered from Renko, so it's time I got the boat, you know, looking its best again. And that's what this video is about, starting that process. This is the issue I have at the moment. This boat's covered in bird poo. All these little guys have been living on board because I haven't been here very much, so they've decided it's abandoned. Not sure what we're going to do about that. Cleaning it, moving it and using it more will probably help there. Alright, in the spirit of the stem to stern, let's go up to the bow and start there. Alright, birds, as you can see. A little bit of rust with these bolts. They need painting, even though this was stainless. A little bit of rust here. So we got a bit of chipping and painting to do. Maybe good for me to actually unmount that, clean the backing plate, paint, new bolts, paint those this time as well. You know, I think we need high tensile bolts here, so I don't think we can use stainless there. We'll see. I'll do some homework. I need to do rego numbers. I didn't have rego numbers since I painted. Dave kindly put some numbers on here. It's actually not legal, they need to be one on each side. The second set's in there, but it's kept me out of trouble. I'll make some nice sort of timber brass ones for the side. This was a little repair, and you'll see this theme a lot. It's a good lesson. This was a section of metal I cut out. I'm going to take this rubber out, fix this up again. Everywhere you don't sandblast, paint does not stick on a steel boat. You know, you always get rust again. A lot of it did get blasted, but every little bit I've missed is always an issue. For little bits like this, I think I'm actually just going to get one of those little home sandblasting booths, cut the patch, blast it, or even just blast a sheet of patch material, cut a bit out, weld it in, paint it, it'll be fine. But that wasn't blasted either, and it's lasted a year. Okay, this is an issue. Nothing wrong with the winch, works fine. I've actually got to stage this mini restoration in two stages. One, I want to get the boat usable again. I've actually got a bit of a commitment to go out with a friend who has a share in Renko. He's from overseas, so while he's here we're going to go out, and that's in like a week's time. So that'll involve things like charging up the starting batteries. They're flat at the moment. We'll also have a look at how the solar's, you know, organized. At the moment, the solar really only charges the lithium house battery. I need to get to the point where all the batteries can be charged by solar. At the moment, starting batteries are only charged by the alternator, and the house bank is actually charged by both the alternator and the solar. So that's something to fix. I'll start drawing a bit of a diagram about how it's wired too, because that'll refresh my memory about what I did in the first place. I do have some diagrams, I'll try and dig those out, but they need expanding. So this sheet of steel on the side from here to the well back there was new in Bundaberg, and I roughed it up with one of those turco wheels, but hasn't done a very good job. Let's be honest, needed sandblasting. All the deck was sandblasted, but just that one piece didn't get done. So before it rusts too deeply, it's going to need blasting and repainting right from scratch. I'm going to replace the timbers, and also I'm actually going to take them off, repaint the deck and everything, and then put brand new timber on afterwards, and then seal it up again. Give me a good chance to check behind there as well, because between steel and timber is a good candidate for rust. The other thing I'm getting lots of is birds using this as a railing, pooping everywhere. Same with the bow. Whole boat needs a good gurney. Steel boxes, gonna get rid of those. Either make some nice timber ones or get some aluminium ones. We'll see what's easiest, let's be honest. I can't remember if I'd shown you since we were last here, but I've got rid of the tables. That's at Adrian's at the moment, those drawers and everything. Now the boat's here, it's actually easier for me to have better access to the engine than it is to have all that storage. It was great for going up the coast, but I don't need it so much now we're back on the river. Let's add gluing the insulation to the list. I'm in two minds about this air compressor too. We've got the reservoir in there. You know, it is kind of nice to have it. This corner here used to be my way down from above. I can just squeeze, but only just. Maybe we can bring this pipe over. That might actually be a good idea, just to give myself an extra, 50 mil or so. But the other thing is, you know, the tank fills and this is not loaded up most of the time, so it runs a lot of the time venting. It's kind of not great either, so we might have a chat with Adrian about that sometime soon. All right, anyway, let's grab some spanners and jump in and get those starting batteries out, which are just here. See, this worries me here too. Bubbling rust while this is leaking right at the bottom of the boat. I can do a thickness test on it still, but if ever that goes through, we're in serious trouble. So we need to think about that. I've wrapped a oily rag around this to stop it leaking. When I run it in a week's time, I need to use the boat. It's going to leak like a sieve afterwards, so I'll have to wrap it again. But we need to totally replace this. So this was actually made new by Porters, but it's rusted really badly. So the question is, do we kind of cut right back to here and then add some sort of dripless system? Or do I replace this with something stainless or blasted and painted, undersized, add a grease nipple to the tube here? We need something way better than what we had originally. It just didn't last very long at all. You can also see here a few things have been sort of deleted along the way. So I need to rationalize all these cables as well. We can get rid of this entirely. This was the smart shunt for the Bulma unit that just doesn't work anymore. It's gone. So definitely a lot of cleaning up we can do with the wiring. Here I've got two battery chargers. This charges two batteries. This one charges 3. Now I've only got one 12 volt and the 24 house is a single lithium, and this did the starting batteries. I think what we do now is we use the 3, we do the 2 starting batteries and the 12 volt house, and we can actually get rid of this one. So I might take that one ashore, because what I need to do is charge those up at the house on 240 volt power. All right, let's get these starting batteries. Good chance to swap charger too. Okay, shelf is now empty other than wires. So we'll be able to give that a bit of a clean before we put everything back. I've decided there was way too much junk stored on this boat, so I'm either taking stuff over to the bins on the mainland or taking stuff up to the house. Then when there's more room to move, we'll get back into it. All right, drop the rubbish off. On the way back, the throttle cable for the outboard snapped. Joy of joys. So that's going to make life a little bit harder. Anyway, let's keep going for now. I bought a couple of jerry cans of diesel. Slow way to fill a boat like this, but it's about $1 cheaper a litre, so it's worth it. Going to pour those in, then we can put the jerry cans back in the boat, clear the decks a bit more. Okay, battery wise, I've charged up that starting battery. Got a new 12 volt house battery, deep cycle. And this battery is one to replace that's partner, because it's 24 volt starting and the other one was dead. So let's put all the batteries in and see if we can fire this thing up. Okay, let's start by making a list of things we need to do. I'm going to make a list in 2 groups. One is the short-term things I need to do for Wednesday when I need to use the boat, which is only 3 days away. And the other is the things I need to do for the long-term fix. Okay, I think these are the main things. Quite a few of the batteries are bad, so I've bought some new batteries. Haven't quite got what I need, but anyway, I'll show you what I got. I need to put some fuel in. The water tanks, the water's pretty old and stale, so I'm going to drain those and then we'll refill them. The prop's bound to just be covered in barnacles, hasn't been spun in a long time, at least 6 months. This made me think I need to get some dive gear going, so I've actually already dropped the scuba cylinder off to be serviced, but they're going to be 2 weeks, so that's too slow for this, which means I need to try and get my little surface supply compressor fixed up and running. Then I need to pressure wash the deck, get all the bird crap off it, etc. And also need to glue the insulation for the engine hatch. So I'll show you that first. We'll get the glue going on that to start with. At the moment, the 24 volt bilge pump's not working, so I'm just doing a bit of diagnosis on that. When I use the boat, spin the prop, the stern gland will start leaking. So I want to make sure they're both going before we do that.
As you can see, I'm jumping all over the place here, and that's because every time I look somewhere else, a new priority jumps up, you know, and we just have to run with that, unfortunately.
I'm not doing a great job of filming this, but yesterday I spun the prop. I didn't film that because Paul was with me, and we now have a catastrophic stern gland leak back. We do have one working bilge pump. The 24 volt bilge pump has died, and the 12 volt battery is going flat. I'm going to disconnect that one, and then here, this is actually my starting bank. They're two new batteries, but I couldn't get two of the same. They're similar CCA, same sort of chemistry, but what I'm going to do is take this one out, run my bilge pump off it tonight, and then we're going to go shopping tomorrow, hopefully get a matching one, so the starting bank is two identical batteries. In addition to that, I'll get a new 24 volt bilge pump and some extra wire because I want to run one of them more directly. It's okay having the switches on the dash, but I actually do want one bilge pump that just goes straight to a bank of batteries with a fuse. No way of switching it off. It just lives on auto. That's all it does. And I think I'll have that as a third one just to be on the safe side. So let's swap the batteries so we get through the night and go shopping tomorrow and bust out another 1,000. All right, let's just pop that on the side. What do we got here? Positive, positive. Release pretty sure. All right, at least now we got a full battery. It's only going to get us through the night. Not a particularly hot day, but it's muggy. All right, feel better about that. Got a full battery running the bilge pump. I don't feel super happy we've only got one bilge pump, but it's only for 12 hours, 24 say. So, list, a bit more of a shopping list now than anything else. The job list I think is about the same. Actually, I've added a few more things. Let's go have a look at that. Added two things. One is the driver's seats flapping around a bit, so I'm going to put some glue behind there and screw it. The other is that I've, in the process, I've actually still got, this is the wires to an electric temperature sender, but I got a capillary Murphy gauge. I've always had the oil pressure one, but now I've got the temperature one. The sender didn't fit through the hole, so I've brought up one of these somewhere. Oh, that's what I do, add some LED lights to the bow and the stern. There, the Christmas tree drills, so we can easily expand the hole, run the sender. So I really want to have the temperature gauge working before we go as well. So two more things on the list.
As a distraction from my own boating woes, Dave and I helped Pete take his Halverson up to Fenwick's, where they pulled it out of the water to identify, the cause of some of his leaks.
The hull's free.
The actual bulk of the hull's not too bad. It's just a bit of weed around the waterline, the props, but
yeah. No, she's looking better than I thought, but obviously there are holes in it, so
yeah, there's that. The water's supposed to be on the outside, isn't it?
I think she'll struggle to sink for the next day or two.
Yeah, it'd be good up here. Yeah.
Turned out to be some pretty bad worm damage, but the shipwright sort of found a cost-effective solution, which was to put some copper sheets on. Eddie cheered us up when we got home, though. After that, I got into putting some contact adhesive onto that sound insulation that was on the engine hatch, just to keep the noise down. It had fallen down. I think it had fallen because the heat of the engine had made the glue fail, so we'll see how long it lasts now, but it's good to have that back in place. I'm not the biggest cleaner in the world, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that getting the pressure washer out wasn't quite satisfying, cleaning Renko up a bit.
A lot of what I'm still doing inside and out is cleaning. This area's pretty manky, not too bad. Got all the books here, ordered by the Stewie Decimal System. charts, don't look too bad, bits and bobs. Clean that up more than anything else. Bit of a tidy. Well, that's pretty much perfect except for the bits that aren't. I washed my deck lines last night because they were all a bit manky. They're not perfect, but they're better than they were, so sort these out, get them back on the boat. The sun's actually coming out today, which makes me feel a bit better about going and working on the boat. Tonight's the night we're heading out, so T-minus about 12 hours. This is how much my rusty stern gland is leaking now. So when we go on the hard stand, I'm going to replace this. I've got some nuts here, which hopefully will help me get it out. As a part of this cleanup, I've just been removing stuff, to be honest. There's plenty of stuff that I just haven't used at all between living on the boat and just, you know, diving, whatever. It's just not been useful. So time to rationalise. The less things I've got on the boat, the easier it's going to be to diagnose faults with things that are remaining, because, you know, it's just not hidden amongst more wires than are necessary. Okay, so let's swap the 2 starting batteries to the triple battery charger, run the 3rd wire through to the lazarette and remove the other one altogether. You know, part of me thinks, yeah, it's nice to have that spare, but we're not cruising, you know, to the middle of the ocean. It's a riverboat. If it fails, I replace it. All right. Let's get rid of that. Take that back home. Okay, need a fuse here, and then these are the 2 going to the starter batteries, and the 3rd one I'm going to push through the bulkhead into the lazarette. All right, having a rest. Got that battery charger in now, so pretty happy with that. What I am going to do though is just quickly before I switch the power on, test the charging, see how we're going with solar charging. And we are charging, absorption, voltage 28 volts, that's pretty good for the battery. Then off that we've got a 24 to 12, which charges, now this charges the 12 volt house bank, and it's in float, it's saying, so that's pretty good, so that's working. Same, we got 13.8 on the 12 volt house bank. So pretty happy with that. The other one's to the alternator, so we can ignore that. So now I know that's working. I'm actually going to turn the chargers on anyway, because I want to equalize those starting batteries. I had one of them running my bilge pump overnight. They're in series, they're no longer equal voltages, so we're going to charge them up. That's the advantage to charging them as separate 12 volt batteries rather than putting 28 volts across the 2 batteries, or whatever the charging voltage is for 24. We're going to put, you know, 13.8 into each of the batteries so they get charged individually. I think that's a better way to charge batteries in series. So let's do that for a while. Then I think I'm going to get on with the temperature sender, because that's pretty important. Just going to plug in the shore power. And yeah, I've got power on there. So theoretically, all 3 batteries are now being charged. I'll let that go for a while, switch it off, and then I'll test the voltages individually on these 2 batteries. All right, just running the sender for the Murphy gauge for the temperature. And then it looks like we got a spare hole that's going to fit through up here, which is always very welcome. Let's put a bit of thread sealant on here. Got this thread adapter. Put that in. That'll do. Let's not crack the water jacket. This one's got a bit of sealant on it too. I think I need to paint this. None of this looks stainless or particularly marinized. I think it's fair to say the toolbox got a bit of water in it, so I've drilled a hole in it. I'm going to replace both of these. I'm going to make some timber ones actually. I think they'll look nicer. You know, I should have gone aluminium. These you know, the paint on them was nowhere near marine paint, and they've rusted pretty quickly, somewhat expectedly, but anyway, that's all right. We're just sitting on these brackets, so they're easily replaced. And now I'm not in such a rush, I can make something a bit nicer.
We ended up going for our cruise on the river, which was lovely. Got home safely, everything went well, but there's a long way to go. A lot of work that needs to be done. I'm now on the hard stand at Fenwick's, and I'll be honest, I'm actually completely failing to get this old gland follower out of the stuffing box. So that's not going to happen this time, unfortunately, but, you know, we'll get there. Getting lots of other things done, but that's going to be a job we need to fight another day. All right, I will catch you soon, and I'll show you how it went on the hard stand. See ya.